Right, so really happy to welcome Susan Douglas today, who is somebody that I've known for quite a few years, and she's going to talk to us today about really overall what I'd say relaxation. So I'm doing a theme this month for one of my aspects of 5-star wellbeing, which I call being, and really that covers everything to do with how people live their lives, and where that becomes a problem is really when people don't relax enough, don't have enough downtime. Susan is a corporate mindfulness practitioner and loves to help professionals relax. She teaches Yin Yoga and transformational yoga as well as something that I guess is less well known, which is called Yoga Nidra. So we're going to talk to her about all of those things. And Susan's business is called Soul State, and she is offering online practices at the moment, so you can certainly get in touch with her, and we'll put the contact details so everybody can reach you easily, Susan. But welcome today, and I'd love you to just tell us a bit about you, how you got to be doing the kind of work you're doing now, and how and why you got into yoga overall.
Yeah, thank you, Arwen. Thank you for letting me join this lovely podcast. So my journey began many years ago, full-time corporate, mum, kids, probably not realising I was stressed, but if I look back now, very much so. Used to running on, I suppose, levels of anxiety and thinking that was the way that I had to be productive. Always at the gym. Always out running, so always in certainly a yang state, and then discovered yoga, or my first foray. I was always very much go hard or go home, so Bikram yoga was my first choice. Everyone's got a feeling about that. I loved heat and I loved pushing myself hard, so that's kind of where I started, until I had bouts of nearly fainting in classes and thinking maybe this isn't quite right for me, and then discovered a local studio called Westside Yoga in Seddon in the inner west of Melbourne, and came across, I suppose, some classes there that were both just really slow flow, but certainly Yin Yoga as well, and that really opened my eyes to a completely different world that I didn't know existed. And I used to leave those classes just feeling a sense of peace and relaxation, which I kind of hadn't experienced in a very long time. And I think for me, just over the time, the more I practiced, the more that feeling kept with me and stayed with me, that I decided then to basically cancel the gym membership and move into, practicing yoga full time. And my journey from there was pretty much every class, teachers would talk about something and I had so many questions. And as we probably know, you don't really have an opportunity to ask questions. So my mind was probably meant to be turned off, but it was like, why all the time. So for me, it was like, I really think I need to do a course, not to teach, not to lead people, but I just have so many questions. And that took me down a path of a year-long teaching course that I ended up taking. And out of that, kind of realised that, well, maybe I can share this. I think it's had such a powerful impact on me and my life and how I feel, that I just felt in return that, I feel I need to be able to share this with people now. So that was kind of my journey into teaching. It was never something that I wanted to do, but I kind of let the universe guide me a bit, I suppose, on that journey.
Beautiful. So a couple of things I just wanted to clarify with you, just for people who don't know. So firstly, you beautifully brought in the term, saying that you were in a yang state a lot of the time, and then obviously we're talking about yin yoga. So are you able to just clarify a bit for people who aren't familiar with those terms like you and I? What are you referring to? Yeah.
So yang being that, well, it's often referred to as masculine. And apologies if we get puppy dogs barking in the background here. I have 4 fur kids in my house. So yang being a very masculine, a very, I suppose, I always think of that kind of aerobic, busy, pushing type style of living or exercise. Yin is a softness, kind of a darker side, female. And very kind of probably more slowed down, nurturing is probably the way I would relate to it if you feel I've done service to those terms.
Yeah, no, perfect. That's pretty much exactly what I would say as well. And so really interesting as well that you said, that was kind of, you were living your life more in the yang state. And then the first type of yoga that you chose was Bikram, which of course is probably, I would say, one of the most yang types of yoga that you can do. But again, I'd just get you to just really briefly explain what Bikram yoga is for those people who aren't familiar with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bikram yoga is done in a heated room of around, it could be 38 to 40 degrees. So you walk in and you're hit with a wall of heat. And it's very much I suppose, a strict guideline. You're guided through 26 poses. It's the same every time you do it. It doesn't differentiate at all. There's a whole set of standing up poses that you start with until you then get down to the floor. And I don't want to put people off, because sometimes if you, depending on your constitution and your body, and if you're, you live quite a, maybe yin type, maybe this yoga is for you. So there is a yoga, I believe, for everyone in the world, because there's so many different modalities available. But it's, it's an hour and a half. So it's a good couple of hours out of your day to be able to do that, and you are sweating profusely through the whole class as well. So it's certainly quite different to many of the other modalities. And if anything, and I don't want to give it the wrong name, it's quite militant in the way that you have to kind of complete it as well. I remember getting in trouble a few times because I fidgeted with my top, or I did something I shouldn't have. With me and what I know now, it's so different to yoga in so many ways, because yoga really is about nurturing yourself, honoring yourself, knowing where you are and how hard to push or not to push. So but it kind of made sense for my personality, type A, or I was just, it's, if you're not progressing forward and you're not doing something really hard, then it's not worth doing. I've learnt the hard way through injuries and lots of other ways that that's not the best way for me to serve myself. But that's Bikram.
I've tried it a few times, but I'm the same. It's kind of not really for me, and it is very, very full on. And I think, for me, one of the biggest detractors was that it is that 90 minutes and so strict in how you actually do the poses. And because you're in that really high temperature, I remember being told, well, really you need to do it like 3 times a week for your body to get used to working in that environment. So for me, it was just, this doesn't suit. But for some people, it is the yoga for them. So great.
Absolutely. And you know what? Melbourne in winter, it kind of feels good too.
Yep, totally. Okay, so then let's go to the other end of the spectrum and get you to tell us exactly what Yin Yoga is all about.
Yeah, so I often think, and I teach in a space now where I'm also working with a number of, I suppose, personal trainers or gyms that when they were open. And I came in and offered Yin Yoga, again, because a lot of what's offered in the fitness personal training environments is all HIIT training and your metafits and high intensity. And again, there's not a lot of regard, like for me, whenever, and I used to have participated in all that sort of stuff as well, because that's where I used to be. And, you know, you finish, done, out the door, and I'm like, there's no stretching. So for me, it was about going into these environments. And Yin is, I think, a really beautiful pathway for people to maybe explore yoga in a different way, from having to be, you know, in a flow, or being able to do down dog. So Yin is, again, really slowing down that feminine energy, and basically, and the way I talk to it in these gym environments is just a really good stretch, if that's what you're looking for. And that's a really good stepping stone, is if you're doing all this HIIT training and you want to complement and you want to, I suppose, honour your body in having some time to just slow down and stretch out the muscles, then it's a very grounding practice for that. Pretty much all of the shapes, bar probably one I did last night, and I've never done that in a class before that you attended, but all of the shapes are done on the ground. So, and we hold those shapes, we call them shapes, and the reason we call them shapes, or I call them shapes, is because everyone looks a little different. Yeah. Everyone's body is going to move a little differently. We're going to hold tension in different areas. So there's no rigid, this is exactly what you must look like, because we will all look really different. Is to, just open our body. So we hold a stretch or a shape for at least 2.5 minutes, could be into 5 minutes. And it's all around just working with the connective tissue of the body and opening up around the joints. So a lot of the shapes and poses are opening through the hips and pelvis, but, you know, chest, we can do full body. But it's really just an amazing way to stretch the body. What I also offer up for people who have never done a class before and come into a class, I would suggest the hardest part of the class is the mind. Because as soon as you slow down, as soon as you stop, what takes over? The mind. Yeah. So I do try to offer up suggestions throughout my class about checking in with the mind. Is it giving you a narrative? Is it taking you on this little journey of, I can't do this shape, I don't feel comfortable? So I feel Yin Yoga is as much a connection of the mind, and for being able to still those thoughts, as much as a really good stretch for the body. But if anything, if you just want a good stretch, then it's perfect for that as well.
Yeah. I loved doing the class with you yesterday, and my hips, my goodness, they have not had that. And I do stretch my hips, admittedly, for probably 30 seconds on each side, but I try and do that most days. But wow, after that class, I could really feel the benefits. And I guess that thing of, especially at the moment that we're all sitting so much more, we're all on screen. So as you said, it's the whole chest and hips and pelvis that we really need to change the shape that we're putting our body in. And the real absolute benefit, as you said, is getting into the connective tissue, the fascia, which I think so many people don't understand how important it is to work with that and to stretch that and make it into the flexible state that it's designed to be in.
Oh, absolutely. And it gives you that ability just to open up and, you know, feel the body, you know, more free. Like I've had, you know, people in my class, people, you know, were nurses, and other people who are like, you know, I don't have the back pain I used to have. That's a very regular piece of feedback that I get, is, you know, I've been doing this and I don't have this back pain anymore, or, you know, I'm feeling freer when I walk, or whatever it might be. But, you know, there's just little anecdotal kind of, you know, feedback that you get that is quite common from people that attend a class. So it's, you know, for me, it was like I would go and do a class on a Friday night and I'd be like, oh, I feel really different. I can't explain it, but I feel different. And then I'd do it on a Sunday and I'd be like, oh, wow, I've never felt so relaxed in my life. This is my experience in the very early days. And even my teacher, you know, at the time, and I still actually just did his class 2 hours ago, but you know, he's like, your energy's shifted and changed. Like, I can really see it. And I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know what you're talking about, but that sounds really good.
Yeah, who doesn't want that?
Yeah. So, like, I just really noticed a physical, you know, experienced a physical emotional change just from doing yin. And the other thing as well, you know, from a yogic perspective, is that connective tissue, that fascia is where we hold a lot of stuff, a lot of emotions. So another thing that I've heard quite often as well is like, why, when you do your first yin class, do you end up in tears?
Yeah.
Not saying we all do, and not saying everyone does, but you hold and store with tension a lot of this, and it's a way of releasing it. So I know when my dad was really sick and dying, like, I would go and do these classes, and for people who were around me, I would just be crying on the mat. It was almost like my therapy, but for me it was just a way of releasing that build up, I suppose, over the week.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And crying is a good thing, people. So, you know, don't be put off. And of course, it doesn't happen every time to everyone. But
look at that. Yeah, no, definitely. You don't have a full class of people crying.
No. But yeah, so you've pretty much answered my next question about benefits around stress and anxiety. So it really is about, you know, release, basically, that, you know, your body is physically releasing, and therefore then those other mental, emotional, even spiritual levels of energy get released as well. So it's just...
And it's almost like you're in class and you've got that permission to let go. Because it's like, I'm not at home, like, well, the dog's not barking, so I should be walking her. Or, you know, I can hear the washing machine's finished, I should be hanging out the washing. The mind goes everywhere, doesn't it? Where when you're in a class, you're like, I'm here, I signed up for the however long I'm meant to be here. So I've got permission to not worry about anything else. And that's, I think, another really beautiful thing about, just the class, and just being able to also, you know, like any other yoga class, you finish with a shavasana, that you can just be.
You can just be, exactly. You're not doing anything, you're just being.
Yeah.
Okay, so that probably then leads us quite nicely into Yoga Nidra. And if you can explain what that is, how it works.
Yes,
about it.
Yeah, no, I love it. So, I call it for my I keep saying arms. I'm sure you'll cut out my arms.
Right.
I call it a deep relaxation. We were chatting at the beginning that I think that yoga, people have a lot of preconceived ideas about what yoga is. Meditation, same sort of thing. You know, I've tried meditation, doesn't work for me. I've done yoga, or I've seen it, it's not for me. So the term Yoga Nidra, so basically Yoga Nidra means yogic sleep. And we do one shape or one pose in Yoga Nidra, which is Shavasana. So that's why it's got the term yoga in there, because you're basically laying down on your back. If that doesn't serve you, you can do it sitting up. If you're carrying injuries or pregnancy, you know, those types of things, you can roll on your side. So, but the essence of it is that you're lying down on your back in Shavasana. And then you're guided.
For people who don't know, is corpse pose, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Even
that's not such a great name. No. But just lying down on your back, And it's a mindfulness meditation. So there's a number of different modalities different lineages out there. I've studied a couple of them. They are quite different but similar, and it's a process to it. So the process at the essence of all of them is you are guided down through the brainwaves. So at this state now where we're talking and there's things going on around us and there's probably, phones beeping and all sorts of things, you're in these beta brainwaves where there's a lot of activity going on, you're processing a lot. And then as you move into, as you go to bed at night, is that you move down through these brainwaves into delta, which is your sleep state. And then as you come out of those, you go through several of those each night, in and out, in waves. So Yoga Nidra is essentially taking you on that journey through a wave of sleep. So taking you down into that delta state and then gently guiding you and bringing you back up. And we do that through a number of steps and processes, being guided through breath work, through visualization, through quite commonly is a 61-point scan where we get you to kind of align with each part of your body. And that allows you generally, a 35-minute, which is roughly probably anything from 22 to 35 minutes is a Yoga Nidra, kind of equates to around 2 hours of sleep that you would get it at night.
Wow.
So it's very powerful. And I love the science behind it all, I have to say, but at a really basic level, so not of you caught up on sleep because you've been able to go through a full sleep cycle. It balances the nervous system because you're deeply relaxed. So by balancing your nervous system, then, allows the body to heal itself as well. So, we could talk about all of that for hours, but it's a really simple way to learn how to meditate. Anyone can do it. And I think the beautiful thing about it as well is that it's just accessible because you can lay down, and most people can lie down, or like I said, you could do it sitting up. So there's no other shapes or poses required.
Yep. Yeah, so it is available to everyone. So it effectively is a form of meditation. What do you think people like? Do you see that people do it for a period of time and that they can then take themselves into it, or do you think, for the common person who hasn't done the whole, I'm sure, hours and hours of training that you've done, are they best to tap into it through using a guided app, something on an app or YouTube or something like that? What would your recommendation be?
Well, I personally still use that. I use my own recordings, or I tap into some of my teachers that are on YouTube as an example.
Yep.
And I find that's the best way. Some of my teachers, I know, they know the scripts that well, and there's no reason that you couldn't go through it in your head and do that as well. They had a real technique about, they're flying all over the world, and they're like, before you land, you do your Nidra. You have your 2 hours of sleep. That way you're not going to get your jet lag and all these types of things. But I think, until you get to that point, it's quite accessible to, through many different modalities to be able to find a Yoga Nidra that suits you and to follow that. So, yeah.
And so I mean, there are hundreds of them available. Can you think of any names that you would recommend to people other than yourself, of course?
Yes.
But do you have recordings that people can get access to public?
I have got some recordings. Funny, I just popped one on SoundCloud on the weekend. I'll mention that at the end.
Great.
If you like. The other one for me is I Am Yoga Nidra. If you follow that, so it's I Am Yoga Nidra.
Yep.
That's a modality that I've studied, but they have got quite a few recordings on YouTube, which are really beautiful. And Carmini might even have one on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And eye rest is another one. I haven't studied that, but I have just been checking them out lately, and they are really lovely as well.
Mm-hmm.
I find the yoga, I am Yoga Nidra, is more energy based and quite spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
Eye rest is probably a little bit. They do a lot of work in the US with a lot of military, a lot of people suffering PSTN and that sort of thing. So it's quite highly regarded over there as
Okay.
a tool for I don't know if you call it expats or people that have been in the military and come back and they've got a lot to deal with, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it sounds like something that probably everybody in the world could use in 2020 then.
Oh, I'm so passionate about it. It's not funny. And for me, for my journey, I came across it just dealing with chronic pain, and I was trying to work through how and for whatever the calling was, it was like, you need to study this, you need to explore it more. And for me, that's how my journey went down that path as well. And I must say, a lot of people that I met through the courses were on a similar style of journey as well. But I've even had feedback as little as a couple of weeks ago of someone who'd never done my class before. I do a deep relaxation on a Thursday night, and she just sent me a message going, that was so amazing. I've constant back pain. I'm in pain all the time, but I was able to distance myself from that pain, and it gave me relief, and I've not experienced that before. So yeah, pretty powerful.
Yeah. Okay, so that's great. I think that's a really, so personally I'll just say my own little bit about Nidra is I find it is the only form of meditation, in inverted commas, that is guaranteed to take me into that state of deep relaxation. And you've explained the science behind that now, so I know that for myself. So I just absolutely couldn't recommend it anymore to people as well. I do, because I'm the type of person that I do struggle to switch off my mind as well. And look, and so many people are like that, but this is the one that really works for me. So
absolutely. And I think I use it as well quite often during the day. So when you have that lull in the day where you're like, I need that chocolate, or I need that coffee, or it's like, do a 20-minute Yoga Nidra. You won't need any of that, and that'll give you that rest. And the other amazing benefits about it as well, could be for your son in year 12, but if you're studying, do your study, then do a Yoga Nidra, because it's well documented as well that sleep allows you to process and allows what you've been learning to stay with you and to process it. The other benefit as well is if we go into the different brain waves, is that when you come back out again, instead of moving straight into beta and you're in those slightly lower spaces for brain waves, then you're actually in a really good space. If you're needing to go into an exam, you're not overwhelmed with too much chatter, you're in a space to just really settle in and get flowing. Or I use it in my corporate space to go, okay, if you've got jobs you've been putting off or things that you've been needing to do and you really need to get stuck into it, 5 to 10 minutes after 10 to 15 minutes after your Nidra, because you feel a little groggy, you'll be in that perfect space to get things done. So you actually get a really good boost of solid, not only energy, but productivity.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I mean, that's something that everybody can use. I've got an inbox full of jobs that I keep putting off. So great.
There you go. Yoga Nidra, then hit them up.
And do you know, have they done, because I know you said, so you get the benefits of as if you've had 2 hours sleep, and you did mention, I think you mentioned something about cell repair or your body repairing itself. So do you know if they've done studies to show that the same cell repair occurs that does occur when you're in your deep sleep at night?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I was talking about the nervous system. So it's at its essence is that you're balancing the nervous system. So we're in that sympathetic state or fight or flight. So we're kicking in that parasympathetic nervous system. So and when your body's in that state, it's able to repair. And I say that like we rest, but we're always in that probably opposite state that your body hasn't got the time to heal itself. When you look at all the ailments and niggles, I'm just trying to think of an analogy so that Carmini used in my course. She's and I hunted her down, this lady, because I was reading her book. So she's from a yoga lineage. Her dad's, she's a yogini, he's a yogi, and from India. And she then went and studied a PhD in psychology. So she brings in East and West, which is what we really need right now. And for me, it was about, again, the why. Why? I do this. I don't understand what's going on. Why? But the little analogy was that basically, just say we're a tree with all these branches. And if I was to kind of go down each branch of maybe what's not quite right with me, I have a collapsed vertebrae, I've got sciatic pain, I've got, maybe I could say I've got a bloated stomach, or like my hair's not thick, or all this stuff that's happening, I'm dehydrated, or whatever it might be. I've got all these ailments, and we might buy shampoos, and we might, go to the doctor, and then we're on tablets for this particular thing. So Yoga Nidra at its essence is kind of working at the roots of the tree. So it's balancing the nervous system so that we're tackling everything from the roots, being able to heal the rest of the tree, let alone tackling each branch that looks a bit slightly broken.
Yeah, that is a beautiful.
I gave that analogy justice.
Yeah, no, that's great. So it's exactly the same as the principle of functional medicine, that you've got to get to the root cause of why this is happening following you. Yeah.
And predominantly we're not resting enough in this world. We're busy. Yeah. And it's not only being physically busy, because we could be sitting here, but if this is racing and this is off and out of control, then our body is reacting as though we're in that fight or flight.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be that crazy busyness of running around. We're probably all in lockdown now, and we're not busy like we used to be, but the mind is, which means the body's still reacting to that.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I have a strong belief that the way that we live our lives, being on screens so much more of the time as well, it's so stimulating, and that is a big part of the problem, that we're not just we're not just sitting around a campfire talking to each other like our ancestors would have done. We're constantly being bombarded by information. So that's great, thank you. So I just wanted to get a sense from you as well. We spoke a little bit about before we hit record about the fact that corporate health and wellbeing is hopefully really opening its collective mind up to this kind of work and bringing these kind of practices into workplaces to help people be better workers overall. So what do you see happening? Because I know you do a lot of work in that space.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to attend a workplace wellness festival last week, and it was all online. I don't know, it wasn't very festive. Yeah. It was a great event.
You put a lot about pants on, I'm sure.
Just when I say it wasn't festive, because obviously the topics, COVID, mental health, but if you look at the attendance, I think they had something like over 6,000 people register. At any one time, there were a couple of thousand people at least online in the event. A lot of big businesses from around Australia were there, and it's a hot topic.
Yep.
It's definitely, you know, how do they look after their, you know, your employees, you know, ones that are, you know, maybe been doing it for a long time, but then there's others that are starting out, and, you know, where do you start? Because it's not just, you know, mental health, physical health. They talk about financial health as well. So there's so many elements to it that it's not going to go away. I think it's only going to get bigger. You know, I think we're all obviously, you know, going through peaks and troughs and whatever it might be through this whole pandemic. That it's not something that I think, you know, as a business, as a company, that they can neglect.
Yeah. No, that's right. It's not, you know, in the long run, looking after people is what makes companies more successful, more profitable, more long-lived. So
yeah, totally.
And I agree. I think they're, you know, more and more they're realizing that. So that is for the good of the planet, really, overall, isn't it? And the good of the community.
Definitely.
Okay, so I'd love for you to tell us how people can find you, if you've got any particular programs or services that people can get through you.
So I know you mentioned at the start, my business is Soul State, and I'm kind of like everyone on different social media out there as well. I offer a Thursday evening deep relaxation session, which is the Yoga Nidra we spoke about. I also regularly run for corporates, for businesses, similar programs, albeit whether it be some yin type yoga. Quite often I lead with the deep relaxation, just simply because it serves everybody and it's so accessible and easy to do. So available, you know, during the week to run those sessions for corporate. And as I mentioned, Darwin, I'm also collaborating at the moment with a lovely lady, Penny, out of Canberra, and we are working on an online corporate mindfulness program, so that can be led by, you know, wellness officers internally. It's called Deep Rest X, and
great name.
We'll be launching that in the not too distant future. And that's not just for businesses, that's for individuals as well. So you can, you know, as an individual, you can follow the program, or from a corporate perspective, it could be a program that you buy and then roll out within your company's environment as well. So
okay,
yeah, that's pretty exciting. So we're just in the trenches at the moment building that, but outside of that, yeah, I'm available to chat to anybody at any time as well.
All right, well, thank you so much. So I'll put the links to, you've got a website, yeah?
Yeah, I can always pop that across to you if you like, so you've got them and you can cut and paste them.
Yeah, that'd be great. And your social media links, and then anyone can get in touch with you. And I certainly highly recommend the Sunday Yin class. And if that's anything to go by, then I'm sure the Thursday one is amazing as well. And as we keep saying, it's really what everybody needs. So
yeah, definitely. I appreciate you having me on.
That's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.